is going to enlighten us on Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 7, Chapter 15, verse 21 onwards. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam, and whenever you are ready, please take over the call.
Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
प्रभूजी पण
Om
को-होस्ट आहेत.
Namo
प्रभूजी पण
Bhagavate
को-होस्ट आहेत, त्यांना जर डिस्प्ले करायचं असेल तर.
Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama-shloke Bhaktir-bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam સહગણા રઘુનાથાન્વિતમ
અઠવાડિયામાં 2-3 વાર ખાધા સવારે આ રીતે.
અદ્વૈતમ સાવધૂતમ પરિજના સહિતમ કૃષ્ણ ચૈતન્ય દેવમ શ્રી રાધા કૃષ્ણ પાદા સહગણા લલિતા શ્રી વિશાખાન્વિતાંશ. હે કૃષ્ણ કરુણા સિંધુ दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते. तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. हरे कृष्णा. So today we are reading from Canto 7, chapter number 15, text number 21, chapter entitled Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. So I don't have the verse on the screen. So everyone has a reference, something with them, which they can refer to, 7, 15, 21.
Yes, Prabhuji, I posted it on our WhatsApp group. So
okay, I'll just refer to my book and I'll read. So I hope
you can share
has
the screen, Prabhuji, if you want.
Yeah, at least, but I'm operating from mobile, so I don't have right now.
No problem. Yeah, we have Prabhuji.
Yeah, if I had operated from laptop, I would have shared, but laptop is not working properly. So from mobile, I'm operating. So right now I don't have. So I'll just read the verse translation and purport. Pandita bahavo rajan bahugya samshaya chida sadasya spatayo apyeke asantoshat patantyadha. Translation: O King Yudhishthir, many persons with varied experience, many legal advisors, many learned scholars, and many persons eligible to become presidents of learned assemblies fall down into hellish life because of not being satisfied with their positions. Purport: for spiritual advancement, one should be materially satisfied. For one should be, if one is not materially satisfied, his greed for material development will result in frustration of his spiritual advancement. There are two things that nullify all good qualities. One is poverty, daridra dosho gunarashi nashi. If one is poverty stricken, all his good qualities become null and void. Similarly, if one becomes too greedy, his good qualifications are lost. Therefore, the adjustment is that one should not be poverty stricken, but one must try to be fully satisfied with the bare necessities of life and not be greedy. For a devotee to be satisfied with bare necessities is therefore the best advice for spiritual advancement. Learned authorities in devotional life consequently advise that one not endeavor to increase the number of temples and mathas. Such activities can be undertaken only by devotees experienced in propagating the Krishna consciousness movement. All the acharyas in South India, especially Sri Ramanuja Acharya, constructed many big temples, and in North India, all the Goswamis of Vrindavan constructed large temples. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also constructed large centers known as Gaudiya Mathas. Therefore, temple construction is not bad, provided proper care is taken for the propagation of Krishna consciousness. Even if such endeavors are considered greedy, the greed is to satisfy Krishna, and therefore these are spiritual activities. Hare Krishna. So, today we are continuing the discussion from Canto 7, Chapter 15, chapter entitled Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. So, we are discussing when Yudhishthir Maharaj is approaching Narad Muni and is putting forward a question to Narad Muni that, my dear Rishi, my dear sage, please explain how we people who are staying in household life, we don't have knowledge about what is the ultimate goal of life. How can, while staying in household life, we can also attain Krishna? So that is the question which Yudhishthir Maharaj is asking Narad Muni, and we see how Narad Muni, while giving reply in the previous chapter, the question was asked, but that answer is still continuing in this chapter also. And in this chapter, we see how Narad Muni began speaking about the different gradations of Brahmanas, how there are the Karma Nishtas, then there are Tapo Nishtas, Swadhyaya Nishta, Jnana Nishta. So the various gradation of Brahmanas, Narad Muni is explaining. Karma Nishta are those Grahasthas who are devoted to performing only the Vedic fruitive rituals. They are only attached to the rituals without understanding the higher purpose. Vedesha sarvair ahameva vedyo, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. The ultimate purpose of all the Vedas is to know him. So the lowest level of the Brahmanas are the Karmanishta Brahmanas. Higher than that, the second level are the Taponishtas, the Vanaprasthas who are devoted to austerity. That is a higher level than the Karmanishtas. Then there is Swadhyaya Nishta, the third level. Those are the Brahmacharis who are devoted to studying and preaching the Vedas. That is the third level of the gradation of Brahmanas. Then the fourth level, Narad Muni explains, is the Jnana Nishtas, or the sannyasis who are devoted to culturing knowledge and bhakti. So that's how Narad Muni begins to speak about the different kinds of Brahmanas and how one after the another level is continuously speaking about when we think of giving in charity, then whom should we choose? To different kinds of people, even in Brahmanas level also. Like we discussed these four gradations. Whomever we give the charity, depending upon that, one will receive equivalent proportion. So lowest level Brahmanas, if we give, then we may get the same amount back in return. High level Brahmana, if we give, we may get 1,000 times in return. So that's how lot of details he begins to speak in this chapter about the different gradations of Brahmanas. And then after speaking that, then the next level that we see here, the next section of this 15th chapter, Narad Muni goes on to speak about how one should avoid irreligion and one should cultivate satisfaction. So, beginning from the text 12th verse onwards till the today's verse that we have been discussing today, that is speaking on this theme of how satisfaction as an important quality, how one should stay away from greed, how one should avoid this adharma of becoming greedy. So that's how from 12th verse onwards till this today's verse we are seeing how Narad Muni began to speak about one who knows dharma should avoid the five branches of adharma. Then he explains in 13th and 14th verse what are the five branches of adharma. So first he tells, first is vidharma. Vidharma is irreligion. Irreligion obstructs the execution of one's own dharma, although one considers his dharma. So what one considers is at dharma, but actually it is adharma. Or the first technical word that is used is vidharma. And the second kind of adharma that Narad Muni explains is paradharma. He tells imitating religion, irreligion, like that. So then explanation is given, like someone, it is introduced by someone else or performing another person's duties unfit for oneself. So we try to perform others' duty, which is not at all befitting to ourselves. That is known as paradharma. And the third he tells abhasa dharma, pretentious religion. So he tells that when one whimsically worships some kind of demigod, imagining that he is the supreme all in all and neglecting one's prescribed duties, that is known as abhasa dharma. Then the fourth kind he explains as upadharma, that is concocted religion. So Narad Muni explains that that is created by a proud person who opposes Vedic principles, although posing himself as a follower of the Vedas. And the fifth kind of adharma, Narad Muni explains is chala dharma or cheating religion, misinterpreting the scriptures by word jugglery. So many times people kind of misrepresent the scriptures or give a wrong understanding about the scriptures So that is also the fifth kind of adharma. So this section begins with the five kinds of adharma, which is spoken by Narad Muni, text 12, 13, and 14 onwards. Then 15, 16th verse, he's speaking about the importance of becoming satisfied versus greed. How one side is self-satisfaction and the other extreme is greed. So he tells one who is content, who is satisfied within, he enjoys divine happiness. Tada santushta manasa sarva shivamaya disha sarkara kantakadebhyo yatopanat pada shivam. He tells that one whose mind is always satisfied, there is happiness everywhere. There is no danger, even if one walks on pebbles and thorns, if he has a suitable shoes. So here he is comparing satisfaction to wearing the shoes of satisfaction. So wherever we walk, although there may be lot of temptations, lot of distractions, which he is comparing to different kinds of pebbles and thorns. But if he is satisfied, then one will not be disturbed by all kinds of provocations and temptations. So that's how all these series of verses in this section is speaking about the importance of satisfaction and protecting ourselves from this dangerous enemy of greed or the dangerous anartha of greed. And today's verse also kind of it gives a conclusion after so many verses speaking about how one has to be satisfied, learning to be satisfied, contented. Here, today's verse, it is being spoken that many scholars, legal advisors, leaders of assemblies fall down into hellish life because of not being satisfied with their position. Hmm? So, dissatisfaction leads to fall down. Hmm? That is what is the theme of today's verse. Pandita bahavo rajan bahugya samshaya chida sadasya spatayopyeke asantoshat patantyada. If someone is not satisfied, then one will fall from their position. So, this is an important theme which we learn about throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam. In different places. We see how one should learn this quality of being satisfied and one should stay away from this dangerous anartha of greed. Therefore, Krishna also in the Bhagavad Gita, he tells that Rividam narakasyedam dwaram nashanam atmana kama krodha tatha lobham tasmad etatrayam tyajet. So Krishna tells in the 16th chapter, after speaking about the divine qualities and about the demoniac qualities, in detail, Krishna speaks how, and then he tells that Trividam Narakasyedam Dwaram Nashanam Atmana. There are three gates to hell, my dear Arjuna. Kamam, Krodam, Tata Lobam. Lust, Kama, anger, Krodha, Tatha Lobha, and greed. So, any sane person has to save himself from not falling unto these three kinds of dangerous allurements. So, as we always hear, how lust, when it is not fulfilled, then it leads to anger. As Bhagavad Gita explains, Kamaesha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyena Iya Vairinam. Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhava. So this Lust, when it is not fulfilled, it leads to anger. But when lust, it is fulfilled, that leads to greed. So, how lust attacks one in both ways. When our desires are not fulfilled, we become angry. When our desires are fulfilled, then we become more greedy. So, therefore, one has to protect himself from this dangerous demon of greed. So, therefore, we see when Krishna is speaking about the demoniac tendency in Bhagavad Gita 16 chapter, he tells how the demoniac people, they are never satisfied in this world. Even in this verse also, since it is speaking about satisfaction and since it is speaking about greed, Krishna also tells in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita how the demoniac people, they always think of how I can get more, how I can enjoy more, how I can get more and more things. And they are always, and what is their worldview when it comes to living in this world? They said that there is no God in this world. This world is only meant so that we can enjoy. www.com. Wealth, wine, and woman. That is the only purpose of this world. How much ever we can try to gain wealth by hook or by crook, whatever way we can try to enjoy woman and we can drink wine. So that's how the nature of this world. And since there is no God, so the only purpose the world has been created is Kim Anyat Kama Hetukam. This world has been created so that we can fulfill our unlimited lusty desires. Go on enjoying, go on enjoying. That is only purpose of this material world. So that is the demoniac worldview. Therefore, we see so many examples of Ravana, Hiranyakashipu. In a very few days, we are going to celebrate the auspicious appearance day of Lord Narsimhadev. But where it all began because of Hiranyakashipu, a classic example of a demon, wherein Hiranyakashipu, he had everything after he obtained the boon from Lord Brahma. At that time, practically, he became the most powerful person on this entire planet. The way he had, the way he did tapasya, which no one could even imagine, and the way he pleased Lord Brahma, then Brahma gave him powers. At that time, practically all the demigods he had employed as his household servants. Indra, Chandra, Vayu, Agni, Surya, everyone was being controlled by Hiranyakashipu. He directly went and sat at the throne of Hiranyakashipu. He was at the throne of Indra. He was ordering Indra, Chandra, Vayu, Agni. Everyone were acting like his domestic servants. He controlled everyone. But still, Bhagavatam explains, Na tripyat ajitendriya. But still, with all the power, with all the wealth, with all the position, with all the control, Hiranyakashipu was dissatisfied. Why? Because he could not control his senses. So therefore, Bhagavatam explains that if one is unable to control one's senses, how much ever we may have, one will always become dissatisfied in life. So therefore, we see there are examples of people who have very little in life, but still they are fully satisfied and happy because of deep foundation in spiritual principles. And there are examples of people who have a lot, maybe 100 times more than what the poor people have, but still because the foundation is not rooted in spiritual principles, therefore they are always dissatisfied. So both kind of examples we see in this world and from the scriptures. So therefore one has to repeatedly know that greed is always a dangerous anartha which as devotees one has to try to overcome. Therefore Rupa Goswami also in Upadeshamrit he speaks about atyahara prayasascha, about the six things when he speaks about those things that will destroy one's devotional service. So one thing he tells is atyahara prayasascha. So atyahara Rupa Goswami tells overeating or collecting more than what is required. That is known as atyahara prayasascha. Prayasascha means over endeavoring for things that are very much difficult to obtain. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpa niyamagraha janasangascha laulyamscha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. So if someone does collects more than what is needed or endeavors more than that is needed, one engages in mundane gossip, that is prajalpa, atyahara prayasascha prajalpa niyamagraha. Following the rules and regulations without understanding the main purpose or rejecting the rules and regulations. That is niyamagraha. Fifth is jana sangha, worldly minded people, and laulyam. Jana sangascha, laulyamcha, shadbir bhakti, vinashyati. Greedy to obtain material things. All these six things will destroy one's devotional service. So therefore, this tendency to be greedy is there in all of us. So therefore, one of our acharyas, Srila Narottam Das Thakur, in his book which he writes as Prema Bhakti Chandrika, in that he speaks this verse where he tells that Kama Krishna Karma Arpane Krodha Bhakta Dveshi Jane Obha Sadhu Sangha Hari Katha मोह इष्ट लाभालभ बिने मद कृष्ण गुण गणे निजुक्त करीबे जता तथा. So Narottam Das Thakur in Prema Bhakti Chandrika, he tells how all these anarthas, how different anarthas can be dovetailed. And today we'll specifically discuss about this greed that this section is speaking about. So there about lust he tells Kama Krishna Karma Arpane. How to engage lust in offering the fruits of the work to Lord Krishna. How to dovetail anger? He tells by becoming angry against those who go against the Lord and the Lord's devotees. Like Hanumanji was angry when Ravana insulted Lord Ram. Ravana gave trouble to Mother Sita. So because of anger, Hanumanji burnt the entire Lanka when he had gone. So that's how dovetailing one's anger to becoming angry against those who hate the Lord or the Lord's devotees. And important point about lobha that we are discussing in today's theme about the principle of greed. So he tells greed has to be to hear about the Supreme Lord in the association of saintly devotees. So that's how that tendency of greed has to be dovetailed by becoming more and more greedy to hear the topics of the Supreme Lord in the association of devotees. Lobha sadhu sange hari katha. Hmm? So that's how the method or the process that has been given. Like in one verse also, Srila Rupa Goswami Pad, he explained that Krishna rasi bhavita mati kriyatam kutopi labhyate tatra laulyam tadapi ekamulyam janmabhir koti sukrutir na labhyate. Krishna Krishna rasa bhavita mati kriyatam kutopi labhyate. So he tells that the only prize to get Krishna is tatra laulyam. Laulyam means intense greed. Tatra laulyam tadapi ekamulyam. If one wants Krishna in this lifetime, the only price one has to pay is one has to become greedy. So, like Narottam Das Thakur is explaining, greedy to become, to hear Hari Katha, greedy to serve the Vaishnavas, or hear Hari Katha in the association of sadhus. So that is the way how we should dovetail the desire to become greedy, and gradually the greed will become purified. So therefore we see that the best example we see about from the Srimad Bhagvatam about the pure devotee of the Lord who became greedy to hear about Krishna is Parikshit Maharaj. So therefore, the example which Rupa Goswami gives for Navada Bhakti, the various devotees he quotes. So when it comes to Shravanam, he gives the example of Parikshit Maharaj. So that great devotee of the Supreme Lord who was personally protected by the Supreme Lord. When Uttara was pregnant, at that time Ashwatthama had shot the Brahmastra in order to kill the last child so that the entire Pandu lineage will be finished. At that time, personally, Uttara ran, Pahi Pahi Mahayogin, Deva Deva Jagatpate, Nanyatvam Abhayam Pashye, Yatra Mrityus Parasparam. My dear Lord, if I am killed, it does not matter. But please protect this last child who will be the torchlight for this Pandu lineage. So therefore, please protect this child. And the Supreme Lord personally enters the womb of Uttara and he protects Parikshit Maharaj. Angushta Matra Mamalam Spurat Purat Divya Darshanam Shamam Tadit Vasasam Achyutam. How child Parikshit got darshan of the Supreme Lord? Angushta Matra Mamalam. That Supreme Lord was of the size of the thumb. Spurat Purata Maulinam. How the Supreme Lord was very beautifully decorated with all the beautiful jewelry and with a beautiful crown. Apivya Darshanam Shamam Tadit Vasasam Achyutam. How the Supreme Lord, he was wearing the yellow dhoti that was shining and he was carrying the Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. So that darshan Parikshit Maharaj saw. Therefore, as soon as the child Parikshit came out of the womb of Mother Uttara, always Parikshit Maharaj was thinking that every person that was passing around, Parikshit Maharaj used to catch hold of the dhoti or the sari or the pant in order to look up. And he was trying to see, is it the same beautiful person whom I saw in the womb of my mother? No, this is the person. Then he used to again, is this the same beautiful person whom I saw in the womb of my mother? No, rejected. Then the third person. Like this, Parikshit Maharaj was trying to examine each and every person, hoping that it would be the darshan of the Supreme Lord. So that's how, because this child was examining everyone, and examining in Sanskrit is known as parikshana, to examine. So therefore, the child was named Parikshit Maharaj. And that same Parikshit Maharaj, who was supposed to be killed before even taken birth in this material world, the Lord desired to allow Parikshit Maharaj to live in this world. So we see how Parikshit Maharaj grows up very wonderfully, and he exhibits all the wonderful qualities. And the beautiful prediction of Parikshit Maharaj is also spoken when Yudhishthir Maharaj is about to make the, he meets the astrologers and is inquiring from the Brahmanas about the qualities of Parikshit Maharaj. And all the great Brahmanas, they predict that this child, they compare to each and every quality of Parikshit Maharaj, they compare it to the best person in the history who has. Like, for example, the Brahmanas tell, when it comes to having equanimity of mind, so the best in the universe are two people. One is Lord Brahma and one is Yudhishthir Maharaj. When it comes to mental equilibrium, how, in, like it is said, one's greatness has to be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situation. How great you are, it will be tested how you respond to provoking situations. So therefore, when it comes to becoming equipoised amidst all challenging situations, amidst happiness and distress, so Parikshit Maharaj is compared to Brahmaji and Yudhishthir Maharaj. So like that, when it comes to tolerance, he is compared to Mother Earth. When he is compared to depth, he is compared to ocean. When about heroism, he is compared to lion. When it compared to giving charity, like Shibi Maharaj. So like that, when it comes to archery, he will be like Arjuna. Hmm? So when it comes to truthfulness, he is compared to Lord Ramachandra. So all the best qualities, Parikshit Maharaj is born. And then we see how situations turn and events change because of the will of the Lord. That same Parikshit Maharaj who was supposed to die at the time of taking birth, Krishna allowed him to live for few years, but then suddenly, because of this episode, when Parikshit Maharaj is going to hunt and he's feeling hungry, he's feeling thirsty, and he enters into the hermit of the sage Shamika Rishi, who is engaged in performing meditation, is asking for water, and the sage is absorbed in trance. Parikshit Maharaj feels insulted, and he takes a dead snake and garlands it around the neck of Shamik Rishi. And later on, his son, immature, impudent Brahmana Shringi, comes and he pronounces a curse that whoever has insulted my father, Shamika Rishi, he will die by biting of the serpent. And then Parikshit Maharaj gets the news. And as soon as Parikshit Maharaj gets the news, he had the power to retaliate the curse. But what does Parikshit Maharaj think? That everything happens by the will of the Lord. So therefore, now I should quit the kingdom and I should go sit on the banks of river Ganges at the lotus feet of great saints, and I should focus on hearing from great sages. Then Parikshit Maharaj goes, he takes shelter of Shukadev Goswami, and he is asking two questions to Shukdev Goswami. What is the duty of a person at all time, places, and circumstances? And what is the duty of a person who is about to die? So duty of a person while living in this world and duty of a person while living in this world. The art of living and the art of living. And then Shukdev Goswami begins to speak to Parikshit Maharaj about answering these two questions. And essentially, a lot of Krishna Katha is being churned by Shukdev Goswami. And Parikshit Maharaj is asking questions and Shukdev Goswami is answering. So we see 7 days and 7 nights. Parikshit Maharaj is an ideal example of showing this intense greed for hearing Krishna Katha sitting at the lotus feet of Shukdev Goswami. So we see Srimad Bhagvatam is nothing but the greed shown by the hearer sitting at the lotus feet of the speaker, whether it is first canto, where it is Shaunaka Adi Rishi, Shaunaka Adi, and 88,000 rishis sitting at Naimi Sharanya and asking 6 questions in the first canto, first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Suta Goswami is speaking. For how many years they are ready to sit and hear? They say 1,000 years. Before they did not know which is the best process for self-realization. They thought that engaging in the fire yajna is the process for self-realization. But they say that by engaging in fire yajna, all we got is our faces became black. But hey, Suta Goswami, because you are constantly feeding us this nectar of Krishna Katha, so that is actually giving us life. So we are very much grateful to you. So please continue speaking about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we see whether it is Suta Goswami and Shaunakadi Rishi. Shaunakadi Rishis have an intense greed to hear. Can we imagine 1,000 years of sitting and engaging in this process, yajna of hearing Krishna Katha from Suta Goswami? Or it is Parikshit Maharaj who is sitting as the lotus feet of Shukadev Goswami and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Or in the third canto, fourth canto, we see how Vidurji sitting at the lotus feet of Maitreya Rishi and showing this intense greed for hearing Krishna Katha. So, like that, we see throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is nothing but a discussion between the hearer and the speaker. The hearer is posing a question about Krishna and the speaker is giving answer. And the hearer becomes very much grateful and the hearer glorifies the speaker that I am very much grateful to get an opportunity to hear from you. And the speaker becomes all the more enlivened when he sees that the hearer has a genuine taste for hearing and the hearer has a genuine desire to sit and hear. It is not out of some pressure or kind of some attendance or some kind of a formality or some force. No. So we see that the hearer empowers the speaker empowers the hearer, and that's how both of them they keep empowering each other, and through this process of empowering each other a beautiful Krishna Katha is being churned. So therefore this greed that we are discussing about is very beautifully seen through the hearers of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Like in the second canto, Parikshit Maharaj speaks about the process of hearing. He tells, Shrinvata Shraddhaya Nityam Granantascha Swacheshtitam Kalena nati dirghena Bhagavan Vishate Ridhi. Parikshit Maharaj tells in the second canto, 8th chapter. He tells, Shunvata Shraddhaya Nityam. One has to hear. How? Shraddhaya. One has to hear with faith. Second, Nityam. One has to hear regularly. Shunvata Shraddhaya Nityam. And the third thing Parikshit Maharaj tells, Granantascha Swacheshtitam. He tells that one has to accept the subject matter with full seriousness, which means that whatever we hear, we have to know that how I can apply. We may not be able to apply 100% of what we hear, but grinantascha swacheshtitam means endeavoring to apply at least 0.001% of what we hear or what we read. That is known as grinantascha swacheshtitam. It should not be a passive hearing. It should be an active hearing where one is totally absorbed in trying to learn and trying to apply. So that's how the role model for hearing, Parikshit Maharaj, is teaching all of us through his own example of how to become greedy for hearing. How? 3 points Parikshit Maharaj explains. Srinvata Shraddhaya, hear with faith, Nityam, regularly, Granantascha Swacheshtitam, trying to endeavor, trying to understand how I can apply what I hear. Then, when one hears with these 3 points, then in a very short time, the Supreme Lord will be situated in the heart. And then Parikshit Maharaj explains that Pravishta Karna Randrena Swanam Bhava Saroruham Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna Salilasya Yatha Pravishta Karna Randrena. He tells that how the Supreme Lord enters the heart through Pravishta Karna Randrena. The Supreme Lord enters through the ear holes, enters the heart. Swanam Bhava Saroruham. He sits on the lotus of the heart. Dhunoti, like in Hindi we say, do dena, or to wash off. Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna. All the dirt that is there in our heart since millions of lifetime, that is washed away. Salilyasya Yatha Sharat. So he gives the analogy of the autumnal rains. Hmm? So, and then in the next verse, Parikshit Maharaj says, Dhautatma Purusha Krishna Pada Moolam na Munchati Mukta Sarva Pariklesha Pantha Swasharanam Yatha. Dhautatma Purusha Krishna. Hmm? So, what is the sign of someone whose heart is clenched by the process of hearing? He tells, Krishna Pada Moolam na Munchati. The sign is that one never leaves the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Panta Swasharanam Yatha, which means an analogy is being given. Like a traveler who has left his home early in the morning and he is wandering all around in the hot sun. He is burned because of the hot rays of the sun. That person, when he comes back home in the evening, his experience is very cool. He feels very much satisfied. The whole day while traveling out for work has been a burning experience. So that analogy Parikshit Maharaj gives, that Dhautatma Purusha Krishna Pada Moolam na Munchati Mukta Sarva Pariklesha Pantha Swa Sharanam Yatha. When one engages in performing devotional service through the process of hearing Krishna Katha, and when the Lord washes all the dirt, then the experience is that of a traveler in the evening time. when the sun rays are not there. Hmm? So all the different kinds of miseries that keep torment the living entities are compared to the traveler being burned in the hot sun rays. And coming to the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna is like evening time under the soothing moonlight. Hmm? Nitai pada kamalaya koti chandra shushitala. Hmm? The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda is compared to Koti Chandra Shushitala, crores of moons coming together. It is very soothing, hmm, like that. So, therefore, this greed, which is demonstrated by Parikshit Maharaj, is a very wonderful example of how, instead of becoming greedy for material, for possessing material objects, which is never ever going to satisfy the living entity. It is like putting fire in the ghee. Prahlad Maharaj gives the example of trying to fulfill our senses, thinking that the objects, different objects of the senses will satisfy us. It is like pouring fire in the ghee, thinking that the fire will get extinguished. No, the more we put fire in the ghee, the fire will increase more. So, trying to become greedy, trying to fulfill lust in this material world, thinking that it will satisfy me one day, that is never going to happen. So, therefore, as we discussed, we need to channelize that greed. How? By the process which Acharyas explain us, Narottam Das Thakur and Rupa Goswami, that Lobha Hari Katha Sadhu Sangha. So, when we channelize that greed to hear Krishna Katha in the association of devotees, then actually we will become happy and satisfied. And no matter whether one is materially highly successful, very wealthy, whether one has a lot, like the great kings example we see, they had a lot materially, but still their satisfaction was in Krishna consciousness. Or we have examples of someone who were practically beggars, like we see the example of Shuklambar Brahmachari, who practically was totally in a poverty stricken condition. Or we have the example of Sudama Brahman. So many examples of devotees of the Lord who are materially very much impoverished, but they were satisfied with Krishna. So, materially, whether one has a lot, whether one has little, if we have the greatest wealth of Krishna, then we can be satisfied in any situation of life. If we don't have the wealth of Krishna, then irrespective of whatever we may have materially, one will always be dissatisfied. Hmm? So that's how we see in this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is warning us to protect ourselves from this dangerous enemy of greed. Thank you very much. If there are any quick comments or questions, we can take. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam, all glories to Srila
Dandot.
Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. So wonderful class about greed, Prabhuji. Such wonderful points, and also about spiritual greed, which is what powers us forward. Prabhuji, my question is, as Grahasthas, we are working in like organizations, and actually those who are not hungry for more or who are not trying higher and rediscovering themselves, they are actually laid off. And we have to keep on, this material world is actually um, only for people who are greedy. It's like greed is good, as some sayings are there in the material circles here.
Yeah, yeah.
So how are we able to, do that and we have to be complacent materially but spiritually greedy. But in this world to live, it looks like we have to be materially greedy to sustain ourselves. So in this Kali Yuga, how to do that, Prabhuji?
Yeah, that is a big challenge always. That question is many times asked. Many times I have seen devotees posing this question to Guru Maharaj, also Radhanath Maharaj, that how, while living in this competitive world, how do we maintain our balance of Krishna consciousness? Hmm? So Maharaj always tells that we have to, yeah, as a grasta, when we live in this material world, naturally we there are a lot of needs that we have to cater to. But then the main foundation, that is our day should begin with a strong foundation of sadhana. So therefore, like one devotee, His Grace Anand Brindavan Prabhu, he is he like he's very close to Maharaj since many years, 1986, 87 onwards. And his main and he's a Gujarati, and Gujarati, and also always like stock market, money. So his mind is always very much thinking about how to earn money. And stock market means it's all about, wealth, and surrounded by that kind of a very passionate environment, wherein within a day there are people who earn like 10,000 to 1 lakh to 10 lakhs to 1 crore. That's how passionate people are in the stock market to earn money. So Prabhuji was is there in that environment since 30-35 years. So during his journey in that kind of an industry, so he asked Maharaj that, Maharaj, on one hand, we hear about the importance of Krishna consciousness, how our focus has to be on Krishna. But on the other hand, I live and work in a very passionate environment of Bombay Stock Exchange, where the definition is totally opposite. Hmm? Ye dil mange more. Huh? Never ever be satisfied. So, how do I maintain my consciousness, Maharaj? So, Maharaj explains that strong morning program. He said that you should have a very strong morning program, especially from 5 to 7. For him, especially, Maharaj recommended that you come 3 to 4 days in the temple, chant with devotees, try to associate more with the renounced order, the brahmacharis, and his main work was from 10 to 4. So Maharaj told him that the more time you are associating in the work area, like 6 hours, try to equally balance it with associating with devotees and spending time with the sound vibration. So in that way, your consciousness will always remain protected. Otherwise, there are very much chances that you may get carried away in that swift wave. That river is constantly flowing. So very easily you may be carried away in that. And Prabhuji was explaining that last 30 years before Guru Maharaj gave that instruction, which still he has been following in his life. And he has seen so many people who were very much greedy to earn money, but they were not very much sticking to the proper ethics and values. They were overcome by greed. And initially, they earned a lot of money. They even tempted Prabhuji. They were very close friends with Prabhuji. It's like penny wise, pound foolish. In the short run, they earned a lot of money. They were even teasing him a lot for living a very devotional life, kind of. But in the long run, all of them, they are miserable. Huh? So when he is analyzing 30-35 years of life, seeing his journey in the stock market, at the same time his journey in Krishna consciousness, versus all the friends who also began their career and what is being his experience now after 35 years of practice with the family, with the kids, and what has been the experience of his friends, those who were in the outside world without having a proper foundation of Krishna consciousness. So all of them, they are agreeing that you are very fortunate because you had a good guide in your life. They always tell him, we are unfortunate that we did not have a good guide in our life. So therefore, it is our fortune that we have received this proper knowledge of where is our true wealth, where is the true wealth lies, and what we should do. So therefore, if we have a strong foundation of a good morning program, and also in the evening time also, like Prabhupada gave the sandwich program, morning and evening, and in the daytime we can engage in whatever our profession needs demand, then kind of we can remain protected. Strong association of devotees, strong morning program. So morning and evening, like the bread on both sides, and in between, that's how the sandwich program Prabhupada designed. So I think that's what we need to try to uh, focus on. So therefore, we have at least this online programs that are going on. Offline, we may not be able to practically attend every day morning. It may not be suitable like many do in Bombay and all. But at least this online is kind of a substitute. Huh? Although nothing as compared to the offline experience, but still something is better than nothing. So we try to use that, make the best use of the bad bargain that is available. So these are like kind of few thoughts, Vamsi Vilas Bro.
Thank you very much, Hari Gopal Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, and
And
very nice example. I've heard some classes by Anand Pranam Prabhu,
yeah,
how he went through all the situations. So amazing devotee. He also
yeah.
does
Amazing.
chanting with so
Yeah.
many. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Mhm. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is Geeta. Thank you for this wonderful answer and the class
Gita
as
Mata.
well. Yeah.
Mm.
So basically, what you're saying, Prabhuji, is that to answer Vamsi Prabhuji's question, is that
Yeah.
by doing this, there'll be detachment from material wealth. And if
Uh,
there'll be detachment from the wealth, and in case there's a huge loss also, the person will be able to take in the normal stride because they're detached. I mean,
yeah.
coming to the end result of doing this. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately, uh, when one becomes the devotee of the Lord, then one has to have full faith that whatever Krishna does for me, that is the best course of action. So it could happen that for someone he may have to, for someone may lose wealth, someone may gain wealth. Materially, for different people, Krishna will design a unique tailor-made situation for each and every person. Whatever Krishna feels is the best to bring this particular devotee closer to him. So, but whatever ups and downs one goes through, one will always feel the shelter of the Supreme Lord. That is the greatest wealth, to always feel sheltered under the Supreme Lord. It is not that we are looking for security in our wealth. Our real security is shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. Krishna should be our real security, not the material wealth. Because the nature of this world is today we may have wealth, tomorrow we may lose. So our shelter has to be very much secure in Krishna, that which is never ever going to be changing. The problem happens because if we root our identities with the changing things of this world, then as the identities change, we also experience misery and depression. So therefore, our identities have to be rooted in those eternal things that will never that are never going to change. So therefore, we are souls, part and parcel of Krishna, and that eternal identity will never change. So all of us experience frustration because we are attached to our temporary changing identities. I am a CEO of a company. What happened during COVID? I was attached to becoming a CEO of Amazon, and during COVID, I was removed. So my identity changed, and suddenly I experienced depression. I want to commit suicide because I was attached to the temporary identities. So that's how, when we are attached to temporary identities of this world, and the nature of this world is things are going to change, nothing is going to be permanent. So therefore, we need to attach ourselves to the eternal identity, which is never ever going to change. Then we can experience peace amidst all turbulent situations while living in this world. Is it okay, Geeta Mataji?
Yes, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very nice answer. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments? Okay. So if there are no questions and comments, then
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you
Hare
so much for
Krishna.
this nectarine
Shyam
class.
Prasad.
Yeah, and yeah, you explained very nicely that we should not be attached with the temporary desires. We should be attached to the eternal goal of our life, Krishna. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Jaras Prabhu.
Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you mentioned some long form. First of all, let me tell you, your class was really awesome. It was really wonderful and enlightening. I have heard past classes also you gave. So it was really nice to hear and at least take something from what from the examples what you mentioned. One, you mentioned about www. So what was the long form you mentioned about that?
www.com. Wealth Wine Woman.
Oh, wealth wine wife woman. Okay,
Wealth Wine Woman.
wine woman.
www.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the demoniac worldview.
Mm.
Always wanting to become greedy.
Yes.
More wealth, more wine, and more woman.
Yes.
Mm.
Good example. Like before browsing the internet, we can suggest the people make sure that you are
URL.
not behind that www. Yeah, that's correct.
True.
Thank you. Good example. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody has any question or comment?
I think already we are
Okay.
over time.
Yeah, no problem, Prabhuji. But everybody's listening. Yeah, very nicely. So thank you so much, all the devotees. And Prabhuji, let's pay obeisance to all the Vaishnavas, Vancha Kalpatar Vaishakrupa Sindhu Vevacha Patitaram Pavanityo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Anant Koti Vaishnav ki jai
Jai.
Brahmacharya Shri Das Thakur ki jai
Ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai
Jai.
Grandhara Srimad Bhagvatam ki jai
Ki jai.
Hriday Hari Gopal Prabhu ki jai.
Ki jai.
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 Thank you
Hare
so much,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Pranam.
Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hari Bol.